Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone from wherever you're watching. It's 2022, March 20th. It is the race weekend and we are back with the 10th episode of Toast to Talk with a lovely set of panelists. Some of them seem to have changed their colors after the last few practice races and qualifying. Some of them are sticking strong, optimistic. We'll find out who's where. But before we start off, with our next episode of Toast to Talk, specifically focused on Bahrain Grand Prix. Let's do a quick round of introductions of our panelists. Some familiar faces, actually all of them familiar faces, some we haven't seen in a while. So let's start off with Ameya. Hey Ameya, how are you doing?
Hi, so far so good. It's been a while since I've been here. So good to be back. Thanks for having me.
And what color are you rooting for? Initial thoughts.
Every season I start with McLaren and end up with whoever is beating Hamilton. So it doesn't look too optimistic for McLaren. So whoever is underdog this season, I'm very excited to see Haas doing. And I think 2-3 races into the season, I'll have one horse in my race. But yeah, so far I hope McLaren does well. They sort their overheating issues and all. So
yep, I think we'll discuss more about that in a bit. Next up, we have Twinkle. Welcome back, Twinkle.
Hi, Vivek. Hi, everyone. Of course, I'm rooting for Mercedes still, but I know that they don't look very strong at the moment. I think the Ferrari looks excellent, and I'm actually very excited about that because I think some of their cars, the Alfa Romeo, the Haas, these have been struggling for a little bit of time. And yeah, so they have been struggling for a little bit of time. And, you know, it sucks to see Ferrari in the midfield. Ferrari should be battling out in the top. And I think that's I think that's going to be true this year. So I'm really excited for the season. But of course, I still hope that Hamilton wins the World Championship.
Taking extremely diametric opposition, welcoming Bharath back on the season. Hey Bharath, how are you doing? And I think we do see your colors at the background, but let us know, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Vivek, and it's been a pleasure to be back on this show. Yeah, 2021, as you guys know that I'm a diehard fan of Sergio Perez and Red Bull F1 team. And last year, Sergio Perez had a mixed season, and I hope that this season is going to be full of podiums and wins for Sergio Perez. And if he does that, it's going to be a Constructor Championship for Red Bull too. Last year, we missed out on the Constructor Championship, but this year, it's going to be Red Bull's year because you can see in the qualifying results of Bahrain that they are not now very bad in setup pace when compared to Mercedes. So it's going to be Red Bull's year and especially Checo's year.
Yep. And since everyone sort of figured out what all teams and colors are being supported, there's one person who supports FIA. So welcoming our resident expert, Vignesh.
Thanks a lot, Vivek. So this year I am supporting FIS because with the change in the rules and the regulations, I can see a more competitive racing. As in the first race, we can see that all the fantasy leagues are going to be going for a toss. All the predictions are going for a toss. So in that way, you cannot support one team throughout the season because you don't know how the ranks are going to change over the season. So it's better to support the FI and always be the winner of the win.
Perfect. I think that sets the tone for our catch up today, right? For I think Bharath and Ameya, we've switched over since the last time you were on the show. We've sort of got into a quizzing format where the points don't really matter. But if you have points of, topics to discuss about the question itself or tidbits from the answer, feel free to share in. Both Vignesh and Twinkle have won this before. So the pressure is on both of you. And with that, we'll probably kick off with what we have lined up for today. I'm just going to share my screen Hopefully all of you can see it fine.
Yes.
And like I mentioned, so we have a panelist. Rule number 0 is the points are all made up. I get to decide that as the host, and the winner gets to walk away with the bragging rights of being the F fanatic. The format that we're following is connect and context. It's usually some seemingly random images. And the idea is, can you build a connect out of it? Could be the most random of connects because we just want to get the conversation going. So don't put me on the same bar as, Derek O'Brien and all those other quiz masters we have had out there
Michael
over
Massey,
generations.
Because you're free to give your own points. So you're probably Michael Massey.
Oh yeah, why not?
And I'm anti-Hamilton, so you can shower me with some of your love.
Oh, then I'm Max. Give me the championship already.
We're getting back into Harry Potter mode where I'm like just giving points away to Gryffindor. But moving on to our first question. I'm sure all of you know the answer to this. Like, you can just guess the answer, but it would be good to know if you can sort of try to give the context behind the images.
I don't know. Is it the side pods? I think it's the side pods. But I mean, I don't know.
Now, the only clue I'd give is we still haven't entered F1 yet. Okay, this is the first time on the show I actually have all the panelists at pin drop silence. Usually it's just me.
Yeah, what could this be?
We have
You
different
probably
circumstances surrounding infrastructure. Is it Miami? Something?
No, it's not Miami. But you're moving in the right direction. Most tangential
wait.
way of...
What do you mean? Is it Australia? Is it the Melbourne GP?
Is
No.
it Las Vegas GP?
What?
No.
See, I can see
Yeah.
sand, which is the sand. I can see.
I think that's the biggest clue.
Is that a
Somehow
spaceship? The
we have
third
some
picture?
tracks near water like Monaco.
No, this
Then you have the bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, I will give you the clues. Sand was the biggest clue, actually.
Yas Marina. No, I don't know. Is it Abu Dhabi? Because there's a submarine, there's sand. I don't know what else this could be.
Qatar Grand Prix? Do we have Qatar Grand Prix?
Okay, where are we racing this weekend?
Oh, Bahrain.
Yes, this is Bahrain.
I see.
Oh, you actually mentioned today's race name itself. Huh? I thought it's going to be some other race.
No, I mean, the whole idea was to get the conversation going on the place that we're
Bahrain
at.
has a desert. This one.
But what's the fourth picture, Vivek? What is that?
Yeah, so let me just go through all of them, right? Because
Yeah.
So the first one is the bridge that connects Bahrain to Saudi Arabia.
I see.
Interesting fact about it is till 2018, because women in Saudi could not drive.
Okay.
This is one bridge where a woman can drive only till halfway point.
Oh, I see.
Because the border is at the halfway point, the other half is Saudi, one half is Bahrain. So you can only drive till halfway. Like, I think that's probably the only bridge in the world where you can sort of just drive till halfway because it's illegal to drive on the other half.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is it's the emblem of Bahrain. It's called the Tree of Life. It's this tree which is the only vegetation in probably a radius of about 30 or 40 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
And what they figured out is it has roots that go so long to a water source.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the only one that survived in that. Otherwise, there's no greenery around it in that space. And that's sort of become the national symbol of the country. So wherever you see the logo or the emblem as such, usually people use this as that. The third one is actually an aeroplane underwater.
Mm-hmm.
This is the largest underwater dive park in the world.
Oh, okay.
And they have an actual 3-4, I think I'm bad with numbers, but it's one of those larger carriers. They have an actual one that they sunk down to the bottom of the sea. And the last one is what makes the Middle East very famous. That is the site of the first oil well ever discovered in the Middle East in 1931. Changed how the entire region lived and survived or thrived over the next few years. So just a quick brief background about the country where we are hosting the race. Obviously, I was brought up there, so there's a little sentimental value, but I figured it would be a good way for people to just get a better understanding of the countries that we are visiting, part of the F1 calendar. And if folks aren't aware, one of our panelists from the previous episode is actually sitting right there at the Sakir Grand Prix watching the race live today evening.
Wow.
Oh, super.
He had network issues, otherwise it would have been good to actually have him live from the venue talking to us during the episode. But yeah, any quick thoughts that any of the panelists have before we actually jump into F1?
Yeah, I guess
nothing from my
first
end.
race of the season, it's of course going to be extremely exciting. Quite a lot of pace on qualifying does not really justify the pace on race day sometimes. So it will be very, very interesting to watch how they can perform.
Got it. Cool. Quickly moving on to F1.
Wow. Roman Grosjean's fire accident.
Yeah.
This is the place where I believe that Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton's title was decided. And of course, the magnificent night race in the Bahrain.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got
Last
2
one
out
is
of 3
outer
right,
circuit?
Vignesh.
Last one is the outer circuit?
Sorry?
Last one is the outer circuit, right?
No, this is actually the first corner.
Okay.
And there's a specific reason why I've focused on the first corner. Anyone knows why?
Yes, is that a fight between Verstappen and Hamilton where they go off the track both on several occasions, but I think Verstappen went off the track on this particular corner. Is that the case?
This one, I believe that Nico Rosberg had overtaken Lewis Hamilton on the first corner when they were first and second. And then I believe Lewis Hamilton had made a wonderful pass with, I think so, 3 cars together. He had made that pass.
A lot of action has happened at that corner, but it's more, the emphasis is on the corner rather than any of the racing highlights.
Okay.
It was specifically named in the 2014-2015 timeframe, where they renamed that corner to something or someone.
We have
the other clue I can give is that someone was the first person ever to win the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Vettel?
Back in 2004, the race was on 040404.
Oh.
So flashback to 2004 era, who do you think would have won this race?
2004 was Ferrari who won.
To me,
I know that. 2004 was a Ferrari which had won, for sure. Michael Schumacher.
Yep. It is called the Michael Schumacher corner. It was renamed right after his accident. And they had graffiti there saying, "We are with you, Michael." So if you actually see the third picture at the bottom, in the back, you can actually see that. Yeah, with
we
you,
are
Michael.
with you, Michael Schumacher, MIC.
Yeah. So that corner has been named as the Michael Schumacher corner. He keeps on fighting, and our support is with him.
Yes.
But to your point, Bahrain has had a lot of exciting racing highlights. The fireball that Roman Grosjean went through, the Nico Rosberg-Hamilton rivalry, and a lot more other rivalries. Any episodes that each one of you wanted to share from yesteryears?
So one thing, one of the episodes which I remember of Bahrain, one of my favorite personality, Kimi Raikkonen. And if you all remember that his race engineer during his Lotus times was actually telling him that, okay, you are so and so ahead. And that's when you get that famous statement, leave me alone, I know what I'm doing. That is one of the most iconic memories I have. But yeah, speaking of Bahrain, it has given a lot of memories. It was, I believe that, okay, the entire circuit, the only circuit I believe was used in two configurations in a particular calendar is Bahrain, the inner and the outer circuit. But that's a big credit to Bahrain because the way they have built the motorsport world, probably one of the first circuits to host an F1. That's when the other Middle Eastern countries started understanding the importance of F1. That's when Abu Dhabi came in. That's when Jeddah has come. So this one circuit has actually given an impetus to the growth of Formula One in the Middle East. So in that way, I give kudos to it.
Yeah, is Bahrain the first Middle Eastern circuit or is it Abu Dhabi? Okay,
Bahrain.
Bahrain.
Yeah, because I think it's challenging even for the F1 cars because there's so much temperature change during the day as well as the night. Racing in Middle East is very different from racing in European regions. So I think it's, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I believe that Bahrain was the last time when we had testing in Bahrain, we had a sandstorm. So another fun fact that, okay, it's the only place where you can actually get a sandstorm during testing.
That's true. I mean, it can happen in Qatar and Abu Dhabi also, and
Yeah.
Saudi.
But we don't have testing there.
That's true. Ameya, Bharath, any thoughts, memories that you have of Bahrain?
Since when it, okay, yeah, Bharath, you can go.
Yeah, so one of the memories that I have with the Bahrain Grand Prix is obviously the picture which you have mentioned. We can see the third picture where Grosjean is jumping out from the fireball. So that's the now memory. I still remember that moment, and I still see that particular video in Drive to Survive in Netflix. I particularly see that video where Grosjean is jumping out from the fireball. I still have that memory, and I'm so happy that Russian still alive, and after having the crash of that much intensity. And I still remember that the race was stopped at that particular Grand Prix, and every drivers were concerned about his well-being. And I still remember each and every moment of that particular crash. And I hope Grosjean will have more and more success outside Formula One.
Yep. No, I mean, those 60 seconds, I guess, or maybe it was 30 seconds, felt like the longest time ever, as everyone was like, what is happening? And then that iconic moment where the sudden black shadow comes out of the fireball, and then you see Grosjean jumping off, and you're like,
Yes.
and obviously Netflix being Netflix makes that into a 7-minute, like they somehow are able to create content of 30 seconds and make it into a 7-minute drama series.
Yes.
Mini series.
Slow motion, and he jumped out. The background music. Yeah, Netflix is a Netflix.
Quickly switching over to Ameya, your memories from Bahrain.
I think for the recent one, I can say that it's the only time where I felt sympathetic towards a Mercedes driver. Like last year, George Russell, when Hamilton did not make it due to COVID for the outer ring, not this particular track, but that Bahrain outer one where George Russell just missed out on his first points in 2020. So that was pretty heartbreaking because that tells you what like in sports you can just like it goes from the best days of your life to suddenly an absolute nightmare. So that is one thing that sticks when you're talking about this. Some recent memories I have. So yeah, it was pretty brutal. Like it's kudos to, or I mean, it's a big thing to turn it around from there for George Russell, because mentally it gets mentally it's very difficult to to put your head up and still keep on going after just your win or your first point in your F1 getting snatched away by some issue like a slow puncture and all. So yeah, that's one of the memories that sticks out. And of course, my leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. I have a mug for that. That memory, man, that was iconic. I think that one snippet of YouTube got me into Formula One. So yeah, these two are the ones that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give one fun fact. I think so in 2010, Bahrain had one of the longest tracks in F1. They had used their one race. That was the only time they had used their endurance circuit. And that was a 6.33, 6.4 kilometers, some long track. And then again, they shifted back to their original layout. So I remember, because that was a time when I believe one of the drivers had said that, okay, Spa, which is a bit bigger than this, it's a 7-kilometer track, but with 6.3 kilometers, they were still facing that heat. It was more struggle for them to race in that endurance track than actually in Spa.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not quite sure about the length of the endurance track, but they did use the endurance track back then. And I think, as the name says, endurance clearly showed up in their performances too.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I think Vignesh probably walks away with 10 points on this one, having cracked 2 out of the 3 pictures. And we will quickly move on to our next question.
Okay. 3 teams. I think so. Latifi is a Mercedes engine. This guy is a Renault Alpine engine. He has what?
No, F2 doesn't have something to do with F2, but
no, nothing to
I
do
think
with F1.
F1 debut on a Bahrain track. Is it like that?
No.
I don't think Latifi debuted in Bahrain. I think he was in Melbourne only. Yeah.
I know. Latifi debuted, I think, in Australia.
Not Melbourne, but Austria.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they what, like the rookie of the years?
No. I
mean, but Latifi is barely a rookie.
But that's probably one of the reasons why all 3 of them are here, not because they're rookies of the year, but these are the only 3 people in the Racing 20 today
to have not won a GP. Is that it? No. But Russell has also not won a GP.
Yeah, there are a few more people who have not won a GP, but Twinkle, you're on the right track.
Okay.
They have not won the F2 championship?
No, that's also not the reason.
I don't think they've scored any podiums ever.
Twinkle, you're going on the right track. The next step now. Like, you've done with winning, you've done with podiums. What's the other thing that you couldn't do?
They don't have the fastest
points. No?
That is correct, Ameya. The 3 of them have not scored points in Bahrain.
Oh, okay. Bahrain. Because I thought, okay, Latifi had actually scored a point.
Latifi did score a bunch of points last year.
That's what I was going in that way. Like, okay, how can he not score a point?
So is this a new driver, Alfa Romeo driver, the second guy, right?
Okay. That's why I said, like, for that rookie-ness, like, I mean, obviously he's never raced before, so he obviously has no points.
That's what he made a confusion for me.
But I guess what was interesting was, like, all the other 17 have actually scored points in Bahrain.
True. Yeah. Yuki Tsunoda got a P9 or P8, I think. That was only 2.
Vivek, I can always say that, okay, they have not, along with them, I think Russell has also not scored a point in the actual circuit. He has scored in the outer circuit.
No. Last year he did score a point. He got 1 point.
2020 he just scraped through.
Yeah, he got 1 point.
Yeah.
You will take away mixed picture.
Yeah, that was the only point I believe that year Williams had, right?
Williams didn't get that point. Mercedes did.
Yeah.
Mercedes did.
No,
Voted
but,
for Mercedes.
For Mercedes, when it was the outer circuit.
Yeah, that was the
when-
outer circuit, not the actual circuit. That's what I'm telling.
In 2020. Okay.
Yeah, 2020.
He raced 2 in a row there, one outer circuit.
We did
one,
2 in a row then,
this
yeah.
one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but I think so. The outer circuit, the actual circuit was
Yeah,
Hamilton had raced, and the outer circuit for which Hamilton was not available.
correct.
So actual circuit, okay, you can add Russell also in the list.
So
And this-
we can or frame the answer as did not score a point at Bahrain.
In Bahrain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it is. And obviously, this is the winners of over the last decade. We've seen domination with just a couple of folks. But this opens up our conversation on what did everyone think about the qualifying yesterday. And clearly looks like this domination might see a different take today because one, for example, Sebastian Vettel and Nico Rosberg are obviously not in the race. Vettel unfortunately has got COVID, and that has brought in another surprise package who literally was probably thinking about having champagne and watching this game, is in the racing lane with Aston Martin. That's a newbie for us. Kevin Magnussen coming back. I think few comebacks for all of us to see about, and the fact that Hamilton doesn't necessarily have the fastest car based on the qualifying that we've seen so far. Looks like we might see a new name today. What are everyone's thoughts about the qualifying that happened yesterday? We could probably start off with Bharath.
Yes, so we had a very, very great qualifying yesterday. See, first of all, let me ignore Red Bull and Mercedes because I know that I have respect towards Hamilton because he's a clean driver. And if you see the Mercedes current position, I know that they will improve. They're having a fantastic bunch of engineers and they will challenge for a title. I'm not concerned about Red Bull, Mercedes, and I know that Ferrari is going to come up this year. They are going to be a surprise package. I will not be very, very, surprised even if they win this Grand Prix. So I'm going to ignore the top three. What I'm going to see is in this particular, but if I look at this particular qualifying, I'm going to look at Haas, Alfa Romeo, those two teams particularly because the qualifying that those drivers had was very, very amazing. Like you told, Kevin Magnussen came back, and you can see Mick Schumacher's P12 and Valtteri Bottas coming in again at P9, I believe. And I think his partner is also having P14. So we are going to have a tough midfield battle this year. If I look at this particular qualifying, we are going to have a very, very tough midfield battle, and particularly the lower midfield battle. What I mean is Alfa Romeo, Haas, and Alfa Tauri, and even Alpine. I think there is going to be a fight between these four, and this particular Grand Prix qualifying shows that. And I hope Perez has a fantastic race today, and I hope that he wins.
Some brilliant different perspectives and points, Bharath, you covered across, right? A tighter midfield, really exciting one that we saw yesterday. And obviously we saw a difference in a lot of the engines suppliers, specifically the Ferrari backed ones coming up with a better performance. Twinkle, what are your thoughts on what happened yesterday and how do we look at today?
I think Bharath covered most of it. But I think what was really disappointing was that Stroll was still behind Hulkenberg despite having raced the entire last season. So, I think there should be a stricter way of eliminating the pay drivers at least. There should be, I know that they bring in the money and the teams need the money. So there's no real way to do that, but at least they should try and put up a better fight. I was very disappointing to see Aston Martin there. But in general, I saw the Mercedes engines struggle a lot. Aston Martin wasn't performing. McLaren was also not there. Mercedes was obviously not there. Ferrari, like I stated at the start of the session as well, Ferrari is doing great. And I think Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are the two most brilliant drivers in F1. I am a huge Hamilton fan, but I'm also a very big fan of both of these drivers because of how level-headed they are. They're almost my age, and I don't think I'm as level-headed as they are, and that too in the middle of a F1 race, right? So it's very interesting to see them. They're super duper calm, and I think Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are the exact opposite of Max Verstappen. They can keep their heads cool in the middle of a very tough fight. So yeah, I am looking for a very good fight up in the top, and I think it's going to be very clean as long as it's Ferrari in the top. So looking forward to the season.
Yeah. With that, why don't we move on to get an orange perspective from Ameya?
Not orange, but yeah, overall, I think with like when you talk about the quality of the first race of the season, I think that the excitement around it is just massive. Like it's like second to none, because you have no idea how many teams were sandbagging which team is actually going to come on top on quali. Yesterday, I think that was the best thing can happen to sport after that Abu Dhabi thing, because it brought in viewers, it brought in very new fans. And you don't want new fans to go through 2019 season again, where one team is just 2-3 seconds clear of the pace. So I think a tighter midfield is what we really wanted. And this season the cars are very easy to follow. So we will see a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing, hopefully. We have already seen the trailer of Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen in Austria 2019, and if we get a 5-6 races like that this season, nothing can be better than that. As far as McLaren is concerned, I really think they sort out the issue because they have the pace. It's just that it's not clicking, the overheating issue and everything on top of it. It's not just clicking right now. I, as much as I don't want to say, but Ricciardo is still finding it hard to adjust to his new car, to be comfortable, to be one with the car, as they say. And having missed the pre-season testing in Bahrain like last week due to COVID, that is also one thing which he didn't want. But yeah, I think it will take a couple of races. I really hope they start fighting for podiums, if not the wins. And this season will be, I really feel that this season is going to be better and more predictable than less predictable than the previous ones which we have seen in last 6-7 years. So I hope there is a 4-way title battle, World Constructors Championship, with Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, and McLaren in the mix. I'm really delighted to see how the bottom teams like Williams and Alfa Romeo and Haas, what they have done with the car. What they as Haas, they have put a gamble on the 2022 car by not developing the last year cars at all. So yeah, I really hope that they get more points and they are always in the mix of that midfield battle, because we need to have best of rest battle to be going all the way till the back of the pack. So it was a pretty good qualifying. I mean, as good as we could have asked for. So yeah, looking really forward to the race now.
Yeah, no, what I really liked was I think it was Q3 when we're just going to about wrap up Q3. Normally previous years and seasons, you'll always see 1, 2, 1 car, 2, 3, 4 the next car, 5, 6 the next car team. That point, it was all a mixed bag.
Yeah.
And at the end of Q3, apart from Aston Martin, the bottom 5 were actually different cars, and the 11 to 15 was also a mixed bag. 1 to 10 was also a mixed bag. Obviously, there were points at which it was like Ferrari 1, 2, and then Red Bull 3, 4, and then Mercedes 5, 6. But then we also saw a mix-up happen over there, and a shake-up, I should say, not a mix-up, which really makes 2022 a harbinger of a lot more exciting races, because the cars at this point seem to be plus minus a very little difference between all of them. Some surprises that we saw, I think there's an aspect where the drivers are also coming into the play and helping bridge those differences. So I think there's a lot of mix and excitement around that. But before we switch on to deep diving into some of that, I do want to get Vignesh's thoughts.
Yeah, so like I'm actually seeing the winners list here. The winners list actually doesn't show the true picture, frankly speaking. 2009, if you remember, Charles Leclerc pole position, Sebastian Vettel second, Hamilton third, Bottas was fourth. If Charles Leclerc's that engine problem didn't have affected, you would see 2019 as Charles Leclerc. 2021, if Red Bull that one overtake outside, I think it was turn four. Turn four where actually Max had passed Hamilton outside. If we had actually calculated that move and made it one turn later or 2 turns later, you would have seen a Red Bull here in 2021. Now, what I want to try to tell is that, okay, Bahrain is not like a Mercedes favorite. The only reason they were able to was mainly because of their speed difference, which they got. This year, you have a substantial difference, which was shown in the quali. But what's more important for me is not the quali. This year's car has been designed in such a way that it can follow you more, making overtakes more critical. Now, this means that although you might be starting in a 9th or a 12th position, you can come up, theoretically, you can come up to the first position if you calculate your moves, if you calculate your overtakes perfectly, because the car now aids you to follow. Earlier, we used to see that, okay, when Hamilton and Bottas are behind, not the first cars, you would see that, okay, they had to actually back off after a few laps just to ensure that the entire tires are cooled. This year's that problem is solved. So for me, I do believe that, okay, although the pole position, the qualifying becomes an important aspect, the strategy now plays into the role. It's the driver, the car, and the strategy which will play, and it can topsy-turvy the entire standing order in a race day. You don't know. Williams can also come out, because if you have a driver with experience like Albon, he knows how to overtake. You can get your moves done. So for me, from this season, I believe that although the qualifying was a mixed bag, as you said, how much would the qualifying impact the race is what I want to see in the first race. As F1 predicted, if the number of overtakes skyrockets, then the teams now have to calculate both the sides. That you cannot be like, just I am the first guy, I'll be like, I'll control the pace. You cannot do that, because now you have people who can just follow you and like snap it out of. So that would be one thing which I want to see. And of course, with the regulations, every regulation change brings a new person. Before 2013, you had Red Bull winning straights. Then came the turbo hybrid era. Mercedes started it. This is a new era. Of course, you will have a completely new constructor taking up the points, bagging it, because it's just those who adapt to the change faster. Ferrari, they sacrificed 4 years of their cars to ensure that the 2022 car was perfect. Haas sacrificed 1 year of their car to make 2022 perfect. Mercedes tried to do that last year because of the competition from Red Bull. Probably they didn't manage it. Now, this entire change is who picks first. And I believe the Ferrari have picked it up. So probably, I said, the golden era of Ferrari will come. But again, the race will tell really, is it only the qualifying which matters, or the race can turn the game?
Yep. No, I think a lot of interesting points that you brought up there. Bahrain is known to be an overtaking track in general. Prior to the current conditions, so it'll be really interesting to see how that increases the number of overtakes or reduces in the current setup that we have. Couple of other points that I did want to sort of hear out was, what did everyone think about, Hulkenberg's performance? I know Twinkle brought it in between, comparing it to Stroll, but what did you think about his comeback, and could he play a role today?
Yeah, I don't think a significant role. I think that if he was probably racing for the entire season, maybe he would have actually helped Aston Martin with their cause, but that is alongside Vettel. I'm not saying alongside Stroll. But since he's not raced for the last 15 months or so, I don't think. I think having pace on quali is still comparatively easier, like I've said. But keeping that up on a race day with that Mercedes engine, I don't know how that's going to play out. But I don't think he is going to very significantly affect the race today. But who knows? Let's see. Let's see what pans out.
Yeah, I mean, the other question that I did want to bring up with everyone is we spoke about paid drivers and how they play a role in the team.
Mazepin.
Haas has their best performance in a long time. Obviously, it's not just the factor of one person, but they've invested in the 2022 car, that's playing out. But even their overall performance in the qualifying, right? Mick getting his P12. What do you guys think about how Haas is going to play out?
I would take that and I'll go on with it. K-Mac, please don't consider him like, okay, he's a normal driver. This guy has gone to the Indy series. He has shown what caliber he is. Although he was out of F1, he was never out of racing. And IndyCar is actually like how Formula One nowadays is. Bring to a level playing field. The cars would more or less be the same. It's a driver who creates the impact. Having that experience in IndyCar, I believe has helped him score that Q3 performance. And that's more important because now, although, as you said, they have a good car now, but it was the driver which mattered. Probably some other driver, like our favorite from Gyurkali, I don't want to name his Nikita Mazepin, he might not have given a Q3 performance with the same car. It's because of the driver. It's K-Mac, his experience with IndyCar. Probably tomorrow you remove Mick Schumacher, bring Grosjean in. Probably he would again, both the cars might be in Q3 because now both the drivers have improved considerably considering that, okay, they were a part of the Indy series. So that driver performance matters the most. And regarding our Hulk, the point is that, okay, Bahrain is not an unfamiliar circuit to him. He has driven in Bahrain for a long time. The point which I wanted to note was that, see, even with a car that's not good, he was giving tough competition to Stroll. Now, as Twinkle said, that's where the pay driver entire thing comes in. But again, if you see last year, because of Nikita Mazepin and their support, Haas was able to develop this Pierce car. And that's where the money matters for you to develop a car so that your driver can go on win. If you don't have a penny pockets, you cannot develop a good car for giving a chance to at least your driver to give such performances. So in that way, I believe that, okay, although your team might have one pay driver, but if your second driver is actually the real qualified guy, the pay driver is actually helping your qualified guy. Nothing wrong in that, I see. So in that way, I would, to some level, I would support pay drivers. But again,
also, I have one more opinion actually from yesterday's qualifying. I think had Giovinazzi been still in the Alfa Romeo, I think there would have been 2 Alfa Romeo cars in Q1. I mean Q3, sorry. Yeah, there would have definitely been 2 cars at least, even if not, probably not in the top 10, at least the car would have been probably like 11th or something. But I think he would have still pushed for a top 10 at least.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I think I'm going to give Ameya a chance. I know he's been going to share some thoughts.
No, I just, to Twinkle's point, I just said that Kimi retired 1 year too early, I think.
Early.
I mean, I would have loved to see him in this car. But yeah, back to the original question. I think, yeah, the first point of reference for you as a driver is always your teammate. And when it comes to Hülkenberg having out-qualified your teammate who has been there for years now, it's a big achievement. But but at the same point, I don't think that Aston Martin is going to disrupt too much in the midfield this year, unfortunately, as much as we would have wanted. So yeah, I really hope that Hülkenberg has a great time out there. He actually in the position, he actually finishes above Stroll and maybe get 1 or 2 points, who knows. But I don't think Aston Martin are going to be that competitive this season. So as much as I would have wanted Hülkenberg to be fighting for a podium in this one, unfortunately, this is not the car to get him there. And the second point, I forgot what was the second question by Vivek. Can you repeat the second question?
K-Max performance in Q3
Oh
and
man,
the
incredible.
driver thing.
Yeah, so incredible. I mean, I really don't want to get into the pay driver debate, because if we start getting the pay driver out of the tracks, we would have a repeat of 2005 US Grand Prix with just 5 drivers racing each other. But I mean, it was an incredible performance. I don't think we expected anything less from a driver of Magnussen caliber. Mick Schumacher has improved a lot, and I think they both the gamble paid off for not having a competitive car in 2021, just to focus everything, just to put all the eggs on this basket. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. I really hope. I'm sorry. I really hope they are fighting for points, maybe occasional podium, but that's something which cannot, not counting on. But yeah, with tighter midfield battles, I really hope that. But I really think that Kevin Magnussen is going to make a difference, because when we are racing that close, when in a car, overtaking does not come that difficult as in last year. The driver, the point of having a better driver comes into the picture real quick. So as I think already Vignesh mentioned it, we are going to see some great wheel-to-wheel racing, and for that, Kevin Magnussen he's going to bring in a lot of points for Haas, hopefully.
So I think the most interesting thing that as a F1 show host is, in previous races, we'd have like 4 panelists, and each race would have like 2-3 key highlights that we discuss on. We're just done with qualifying, and amongst the panelists, we've discussed 10 different highlights. And I'm sure there were many more that I know top of my head, but I also know that we are running out of time. But that just shows that how 2022, with all the changes that have come in, there seems to be a positive impact in terms of, as everyone tries to figure out what the new formula is and how do they max it out. And that's why we see all the shuffle happening around, with drivers obviously changing, cars having changed, tracks maybe not so much yet, but a mix of what someone mentioned earlier on this, right? This Formula One is a combination of the driver, the machine, and the strategy. And in this new world of 2022, there is no baseline. Everyone is trying to figure that out. And that's why we're going to see a very exciting race ahead. And before we wrap up, I do want to go around with all our panelists to see what are their predictions for tonight's race, that we can hold them to in our next session, right? Prior to that, I do want to also mention to all our viewers that we are getting into the F1's own fantasy league. So if each one of you is interested to compete with our panelists or with us as an F1 community in India, feel free to join up. I'll put up the QR code in some time along with the joining code. Join us, see how you compare against our panelist choices. And we could actually maybe have you up on this show to discuss why you went with a certain strategy and how did you beat what our panelist choices were. But before that, quickly going to go around to see what are our race predictions for tonight's race. I'm going to start off with someone who we haven't heard in a while, Bharath.
It's going to be an exciting race today, Vivek, and I'm very, very looking forward for Red Bull's 1-2 today, following with Ferrari's one more podium. There is one more podium remaining, and I want Ferrari to take it up And my thoughts on this race is it's going to be a very, very good race. And I hope that mainly Ferrari powered engines gets more points than Mercedes powered engines. So let us hope for that.
Got it, Bharath. So Bharath, should I take it as Perez, Max, and Sainz maybe?
Leclerc.
Okay, Leclerc. Perez, Max, Leclerc.
Yeah,
That's
we
the
can
order
put-
Bharath wants to go with. Let's go over to Twinkle.
Yeah, I think Leclerc has a good chance of winning the race, as does Sainz. I hope it's not Max. I hope it's not Perez either. So yeah, I think my 1 and 2 would be Leclerc. Actually, my podium would be Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton.
Got it. So it's Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton
Yeah.
for Twinkle. We're going to keep you to that. Next up, Vignesh.
Yeah, so I would go with Sainz, Leclerc, and probably Russell. Fastest lap would be backed by Haas.
Wow, okay. That's an interesting one.
That is the
And
definition of bold.
indeed. And with that, Ameya, what is your top three?
I think Twinkle, being a Max hater, should predict that Max wins the race, because an interesting fact is, or interesting stat is, whoever wins the first race since 2016 has never won the World Driver Championship, if I remember correctly.
Even if
So-
Leclerc wins, that's still in my favor, right?
yeah. That's why I didn't say you as a Mercedes fan. I just said you as a Max Verstappen hater. But yeah, so I think the three drivers will be from different constructors. So my prediction would be first Verstappen, second Charles Leclerc, and third Lewis Hamilton. So that would be my prediction. I don't think fastest lap we can predict. Whoever is not going for podium, I think probably might give a fastest lap at the end of the race, towards the end of the race. But yeah, that should be the order for top three.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to lean towards what Ameya also highlighted. Though I feel Sainz might end up taking the first spot, Max second, and then Leclerc third. But this combination would probably just play out, and Leclerc might come first, or Max second, and Sainz third. But that's what my personal take would be. With that, any last thoughts that any of our panelists have for today's race in terms of things to watch out for?
I just wanted to share one meme which I found. So this meme states something like this: Aston Martin is the only one team after rebranding has become worst. Racing Point never finished 7 or below. It was always 7 or above in the Constructors Championship. And since it has become Aston Martin, it is like going down, down, down.
One more point to add here. Daddy's back to the team will never come up, is what I think. Because if you see Haas, and if you see Otmar's recent interview, Otmar left because of Lawrence Stroll's continuous interruptions here and there. When Vijay Valia was handling the team, yearly he used to come only twice or thrice to get the updates. Ever since Lawrence came up, the team is going down, and same with Haas too. Now Nikita's father left, so Haas is having a bright had a bright qualifying, and since Lawrence is there in the team, Aston Martin is going down.
Interesting
So
perspective, Bharath.
the conclusion: fire dads from the Formula One.
So, I mean, does that mean Red Bull should get Jos Verstappen to stay away from the Red Bull section?
No, I don't mean that he doesn't own the team. I just mentioned the owner. He's coming there to support his son. Just like wives and girlfriends show up in the paddock.
Got
And
it.
of
I
course,
mean, speaking of Vignesh's meme, it reminded me of one thing that I didn't want to bring up and I sort of missed out, was Bottas, his performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's way too
But-
many memes about that as well. Because I think last year in Imola or somewhere, I hate to even bring this up because it's so stupid, but anyway. So this has been circulating all over Twitter and everywhere else. That last year Russell said that after Imola that Bottas shouldn't even be fighting for the 9th position in a Mercedes, and this year he's 9th in a Mercedes, and Bottas is 6th in an Alfa Romeo. So how the turntables have.
Yes.
But
There's another one that I want this drink that Bottas is having, and the waiter goes like, it's called karma.
Yeah.
No, but one thing which I wanted to just tell our fans, followers out there, since we are a part of this Toast the Torque, we also have Toast the Toss, which is going on. And one thing, if you want to find similarity between Toast the Torque and Toast the Toss, is that now Rajasthan Royals' official sponsor is Red Bull. So,
Correct.
Is it Red Bull the drinks?
yeah, Red Bull
Yeah.
the drink is the official sponsor for Rajasthan Royals.
Interesting.
The way Red Bull works, I think it's about time they own a team in IPL. They have already owned
Yeah.
a Formula One team and a football team. So
No, because I
My God,
recently saw
even
the
I
way
think even
Rajasthan
IPL
Royals
is going to be unwatchable in a little bit in that case. If they start doing what they did with football, if Red Bull starts doing what they did with football, I think IPL is going to be absolutely unwatchable.
No, but the point what I wanted to tell was that Rajasthan Royals recently released their what we say the jersey reveal, and the Red Bull's stunt driver had actually performed in that video. So you can actually go to the YouTube and watch that video also, where you can see him perform stunts, jump from a stadium down to deliver the jersey. So yeah, we can see a Red Bull in cricket also now.
Yep. And I think final words that I would like to take for all our viewers. If you have any questions for us, any themes or topics you want us to cover, put it down in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, the usual mantra of any YouTube-based show. And put in your predictions of who you think is probably going to win or not win today. And what are your fantasy league picks? We'll put in the URL in the comment section also so that you can sign up there in case you weren't able to do the QR code, which is available in the recording. But with that, I would once again want to thank our panelists for taking their time out and sharing their thoughts with all of us. Ameya, Bharath, Twinkle, Vignesh, thanks once again for being on the show. I think today's winner is going to be Vignesh and Twinkle with probably a score of 15-15. And I know the points don't really matter, but everyone's a winner if Ravi Shastri was on this, because it's not the players. F1 is the true winner of the game, is what he would have said. And with that, looking forward to an exciting race in Bahrain tonight. Wishing all of you the best of luck and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Vignesh.
thanks.